Eagles Entertainment.
Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro at the NovaCare Complex. It's week 5 of this NFL season, and the Eagles are going to see something on Sunday at Heinz Field that they haven't seen all season. They're going to see fans in the stands.
Wentz, back, goes to Sanders. He's in! Touchdown!
Now, it may not be as loud as that. Only a handful of fans, 7,000 or so fans, will be there, but it will add to the atmosphere and it will add to the intensity, because we've heard all along here through 4 weeks how much the players miss the fans. No word yet on the status of fans in Philadelphia, so we are awaiting that word from the Philadelphia mayor's office. So what's up? The Eagles 1-2-1 in first place in the NFC East. Actually unbeaten in the last 2 games, a tie against Cincinnati, a win at San Francisco. All very promising. There are some players who could come back this week. Deshaun Jackson working a bit in practice, Alshon Jeffrey working in practice as well. Both of those players would be greatly, greatly welcomed back to an offense that's still struggling to score points. We know this. The Eagles will be tested in a big way on Sunday against the 3-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll get a preview of the Steelers in our first look from Bob Labriola, Steelers.com, who I gotta say borders on cockiness when talking about the Steelers, and maybe for good reason. It's a really good football team on both sides of the ball. We'll hear from that in just a bit. Also, how about visiting with Alex Singleton, one of the heroes of the Sunday night win against the 49ers, and his story is a great one. He's been in the NFL in one way or another, actually in professional football in one way or the other since 2015. So for him, making that play against San Francisco meant so much. But let's begin our podcast here on this Wednesday with what we normally do, a one-on-one exclusive with head coach Doug Pederson. Welcome, Eagles everywhere, to our weekly one-on-one with head coach Doug Pederson. I'm Eagles Insider Dave Spadaro, and we're happy on this day after the win in San Francisco. Doug, it does remind you how great it feels to win a football game and how hard it is to win a football game in the NFL.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Dave. It is extremely hard to win, in the National Football League. And then, for us now, it's a matter of just kind of if we can continue to stack good practice days, each week. I thought we had a really good week of preparation last week, and that goes to how you play in the game, right? And to get a win on Sunday Night Football, we gotta build off of that, this next week and the following week, and just take them one at a time and not get ahead of ourselves, but just enjoy it for a short period of time.
Doug, we kept it positive last week, so let's do the same thing here. What do you take from Sunday night's win? What does it tell you about the football team?
Well, it tells me and it shows me that there's no quit in this football team. There's a lot of fight still left. It's a resilient group. Obviously, when our back's against the wall, whether we're faced with a couple of losses, no wins, whether it be injury, adversity, whatever it is. These guys come out swinging and keep fighting and keep clawing and scratching, and it's also showed me that that hard work pays off and the preparation pays off, and it's a diligent group. They enjoy coming to work and practicing and they're saying and doing all the right things, and you're starting to see the team kind of come together and starting to click just a little bit. I hate to really kind of allude to this, but it feels like we've kind of worked our way out of preseason games, so to speak, and you're kind of hearing that theme around the league, I think, with some teams. And every game matters, though. That's the issue. These aren't preseason games; these are real games that matter for us.
Doug, I know that Eagles fans on Sunday night watched and they saw number 13 on the field and they said, "I didn't know Nelson Aguilar was still on the team. Who's this Travis Fulgham guy? He's 6'2", he's 215." Give me a scouting report on him, and what did he do in practice specifically to kind of earn your trust? How'd you challenge him?
Well, as you said, he's got really good size, length, good speed, quickness. He's strong. He's a veteran player. He's played some games, in the National Football League. He's not a rookie by any stretch, and he's we had a chance to get him, and we got him on our roster, and had him obviously on practice squad to start the season, and really just kind of learn our offense. And then he was making plays, on the scout team, during the week, and that's where he started to become, getting noticed a little bit, by the offensive coaches and by myself, and then obviously with the amount of injuries that have piled up at the receiver spot, it's given him an opportunity to really come up now and showcase his talent, in the offense or within the offense. And I thought he did a really good job, not only blocking but catching the football, catch after the run. The 42-yard touchdown was really a thing of beauty, the over-the-shoulder catch, and then obviously to stay in bounds for the touchdown. And he's a quiet kid. He doesn't say a whole lot. He's a sponge. He loves to learn, and just excited that he had an opportunity.
So the story is that he and Carson repped that play only one time in practice, and yet you called that in a primetime game in a huge moment on Sunday night?
We might have repped it, once, but they spent time over on the side, between periods or between, if the defense is working and throwing a lot of different routes. And, Carson, I know, has a comfort level with him, and it's just what it takes. Just a couple opportunities for players like that to showcase their talent, what they can do. And he had an opportunity, and he made the most of it. So now it's just a matter of carrying that over into this week, having another good week of preparation as we prepare for Pittsburgh.
One constant in the NFL is that continuity and repetition makes all the difference with an offensive line. And yet this offensive line has had change every single week. And I know you're not playing to the level as the best in the NFL, but take me behind the scenes. What's happening to get a group of changing 5 players on the same page come game time?
Well, it's extremely difficult, because those 5 have to be on the same page. Obviously, everything starts with, Jason Kelce up front with the communication, and then it just stems out from there. And we ended up playing with, I think, 7 offensive linemen yesterday. Jack Driscoll played, Sua Opeta played, so we played with quite a few guys in the game. But it's all about communication, and then just detailing their work and using the right footwork, the right fundamentals that Coach Stoutland teaches, and it wasn't perfect, but they, for the most part, they battled their tails off and really against a really good defensive line. That's a very active defensive line. We knew that on third down they were going to pressure us. They had some unique pressures that our offensive line. There were a couple of times they got home to Carson, but for the most part, our guys held up well and battled it. But it's all about the communication, and when you have so many moving parts and so many new faces, that's a challenge for any offensive line.
So you don't have Dallas Goedert, but you still ran 12 personnel with Richard Rodgers, who had 3 catches. I mean, this is talking about, and had a chance at another big play. When you put together your game plan with that 12 personnel, knowing that Richard doesn't necessarily have the same skill set as Dallas, do you change the plays you're calling in 12 personnel? I mean, how did you address the use of 2 tight ends?
Well, I mean, yeah, Rich is not Dallas, and Dallas is not Rich, and, of course, Zach is Zach. So, we still go in. We're going to play with 12 personnel. It's something that we still feel like we can create some matchups there against the defense. And, Rich has a skill set that we can utilize. And not only is he a really good blocker, but some of the stuff we did yesterday with him, frees him up to catch a ball in the flat and turn it up the sideline. He did have an opportunity on the one deep corner throw. I think it looked like it slipped out of Carson's hand just a little bit and couldn't get enough on it. But that would have been another big play, for him. But, and those are all plays that, you would see Dallas, making in the game. And, we're going to continue to game plan with 12 personnel, with 13 personnel, 13 big, whatever it might be, each week.
Doug, it's fourth quarter. You're down 3 points. It's 4th and 4. And Carson throws the ball to a rookie 5th-round draft pick, John Hightower. Tell me about the call, the decision to throw it to John, and then what worked with Hightower creating separation and also Carson's throw.
Well, it was just it was a great play by both Carson, great throw and a great catch by John. I will say that it's something that we work on in practice. We saw the man-to-man coverage, and Carson actually signaled to Greg and John a specific route combination, and Greg did a great job of running some interference on the defender. I think it was Jason Verrett who was guarding him at the time and ran some interference that freed John up to come on the quick slant. Carson made a great throw, accurate throw, caught the ball for the first down. But those are things that were that timing and accuracy. And, as things begin to click for our young players, we got to continue to put them in those positions, right? I mean, this is the NFL, and these guys were brought onto our team for a reason, to help us win games, and that was a big play in the game.
How many runs are in the playbook, designed runs that are in the playbook, that you haven't used for Carson? I mean, is there still a large menu of designed runs that he hasn't attempted? Yeah,
the ones you saw yesterday were pretty much by design. Some of them were obviously throws that turned into scrambles, and he used his legs, especially on a couple third downs. But there's still a few more, a few more wrinkles that we have with him that we can use, and it's something as we put the run game plan together, as Coach Stoutland puts the run game plan together each week, he's always looking for ways to get our quarterback in space in the run game, because that's something that defenses usually don't account for. And Carson's had some success here in the last couple of weeks.
Might be a weird question here, and I know you're sleep deprived, so stick with me here for a moment. They showed a graphic during the broadcast that in 2017, Carson completed 60% of his passes. He threw 33 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions. And I wonder, is Carson never going to be what they call a pretty quarterback with the 70% completion percentage and the flawless kind of pocket? Is he going to be not the pretty quarterback? Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense, and I don't know. Carson Wentz. This is what I love about Carson Wentz is his game. He plays the game. He plays the game the right way, and what I mean by that is, it's not always going to be the shiny new nickel, that you get, and or the shiny new toy that looks flashy and looks neat and pretty and all of that. And Carson's a grinder, man. He loves to play physical. That's what his game is. He's athletic. He can run, as you saw, get him out of the pocket. He's very accurate on the run. And then the ability, yesterday was great to throw the deep ball, and to be able to complete that. So, there's pretty. I guess pretty comes in many different forms, right? I mean, and Carson's style may not be the so-called pretty, but it's effective, and it's highly effective, and it helps us win games.
On the defensive side, 3 takeaways, Doug. Huge. That's the key statistic that you're looking for, right?
Yeah, we've been talking about the turnover ratio for the last couple of weeks, and we finally got it flipped in our favor, and it just goes to show you when we got obviously the offense scored, and then when the defense scores, that's when your point totals begin to increase, right? And then you get a special team score in there somewhere, but that turnover ratio is huge, and it's a direct correlation to wins and losses.
Doug, I know that you have been working on very sparing time here, getting back from San Fran late. How do you catch up with the hours getting ready for the Pittsburgh Steelers on Sunday?
Well, most of the coaches staff really have kind of looked at Pittsburgh a little bit towards the end of last week, to kind of in preparation for the early part of the week, knowing that we were going to get back late or early Monday morning, from that trip. The players can come in, get their workouts in, and really be out of the building, the first couple of days. And it gives the coaches a chance to really dive into Pittsburgh and really put the game plan together. And then when the players come back in on Wednesday, we're ready to go and we get prepared for Pittsburgh.
Great stuff. Coach Doug Pederson, thanks so much. Go over to Pittsburgh and beat the Steelers on Sunday.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you.
Raise a glass to that comforting feeling of an Eagles touchdown with the all-new Broad & Pattison wine collection created in partnership with Wink, featuring a Cabernet, a Rosé, and a Chardonnay. Broad and Pattison wines are the perfect pairing for any occasion. Now you can bring the sweet taste of victory with you to a dinner with friends or to the tailgate with your game day crew. Purchase online today at philadelphiaeagles.com/wine to stock up and have Broad and Pattison delivered right to your door. A portion of proceeds from every bottle benefit Eagles Autism Foundation.
Linebacker Alex Singleton signed in the post-draft period in 2015 with Seattle, bounced around to a bunch of teams, ended up for 3 years in the Canadian Football League, and now he's a Philadelphia Eagle. He was promoted from the practice squad to the active roster in 2019, one of the key members of the team's special teams. And on Sunday night, he made the play of a lifetime, stepping in front of a Nick Mullins pass, making the interception, and taking it to the house.
In his pattern, 1st and 10, San Francisco at the 25. Back goes Mullen. He pumps. It's intercepted! It's intercepted! Down the far sideline and in for an Eagles touchdown. It is Singleton. Alex Singleton intercepts it, and the Eagles break it open.
It was a moment that Singleton will never, ever forget, as he explains here. Alex, I mean, life changes in an instant, doesn't it? Like, is that how you kind of feel right now?
Yeah, it's especially in this game, it's what have you done for me lately?
And all you've done is play really well, before the interception. I mean, let's talk about the whole experience. So, before the interception, how do you feel you're playing? You get thrown into a situation that is a big game, obviously, against a team that throws a lot of stuff at you. How do you think you played before the interception?
Oh yeah, before that, I thought I had a couple, good tackles, but then, obviously a couple. I personally, in cover 4, a couple drops that I would take back today. Watching the film, but overall, good, not great, but obviously a lot of things I'd correct now, but I felt like I went in and did my job.
And then it happens. Can you take me through your recollections of everything you've thought about from the time you broke the huddle?
Man, quicksand is what is what it felt like. I knew obviously the coverage we were in. I didn't think the play that they were running was what they were actually running, and I thought they were going to throw the ball to 44 for whatever reason in my head. So I was kind of dropping off of him and ended up dropping, obviously to where I did. And the guy kind of, like I said, threw me the ball. And then from that moment, I just remember seeing it in the air and thinking, this is not going to happen. And, obviously, I still feel that way that, it didn't really happen. It can't be true, but, it did. And once I caught it, I was like, you have to score. It was one of those things. And, still, like I said, it felt like quicksand when I was running. I feel like I'm still running at this point, how slow I felt like I was going. But, just happy I ended up in the end zone.
I love the way you lowered your shoulder, man. You were not going to be denied.
Yeah, I do remember. I think I was about the 10. I did hear the sideline kind of. You can tell by how your teammates react when you catch it. Ever since you were little, you can hear like when they're like, oh, or like you can tell whether you have a chance of scoring when you get an interception. And when I caught it, I kind of felt that sound from the sideline, like, oh, he can score. You have that whatever sense that your teammates can tell. And so, you knew there was a chance. And I hit about the 10-yard line, and I just saw, the quarterback and one of the offensive linemen, and I was like, oh, I'm cutting back. Like, there's no way I'm running out of bounds on this one.
Alex, what was the feeling when you got into the end zone?
Honestly, without a crowd, it honestly felt almost kind of like the best practice of my life. More or less, obviously, if it was a Sunday night crowd, I think it would have been, a completely different situation. But just thinking, more like more just happy, that the situation happened, for honestly, myself, but also, just my family and everybody that's always supported me to be able to just prove to them, that, that I can do that on Sunday night, that, it's one of those things you dream about your whole life, and just to, prove to them, or give it back to them. That was the first thing I thought when I scored.
I want to get into that story in a moment. You kept the football, right? You didn't do something dumb like throw it or anything like that, right?
Well, there's nowhere to
throw it, right?
throw it.
That's right.
Like I've said,
Right.
I just, even if I did throw it in the stands, it
go
would
back
just
up and get it.
still, they would have to give it to me because there was no one to give it to. But I don't have it yet per se, but I do know it's somewhere. I know, our equipment guy has it somewhere.
I would imagine.
I'm gonna get it.
Who would ever know? But like, if there were, can you imagine doing it at Lincoln Financial Field with a full crowd? Like, you lose your mind and you just throw it in the crowd. You go, "Oh my God, no! I want that ball back."
Yeah, luckily, I'm a guy. I've always, because obviously a huge family guy, I would never let go. I don't think I let go of the ball till I had to go on the field. Because I had to go on kickoff. So I don't think I gave it up until I was going on the field for kickoff.
Before we get into the story, 'cause your story is a fascinating one, and I'm not sure Eagles fans are totally familiar with it. You do the post game. What was it like in the locker room? Did you get a shout out from Doug? Were you like, I mean, it must have been a glorious moment to win. Most important thing is the team won a game that it had to win, and then to make such a big play. It was like, hey man, like, this is great validation. This is great respect that I'm getting. I feel really great about contributing to this victory.
Yeah, I got to break down the team, which was awesome. I think because, all week, we've preached, scoring on defense, getting turnovers, doing all these things. And, to be a guy that, is a small role player, a guy that, in practice, I take scout team reps, perform on special teams, and a few defensive snaps here and there. And to, be there and, kind of say like, let's get turnovers and do this stuff. Sometimes you kind of feel like you're just obnoxious to the team, sometimes, just saying things. And so to be able to go out and, do that and then have, the guys, a lot of, the older veterans just be like, like, good job. That's something, we see you do. Was really cool to get that validation and to, be able to break down the team and, say, hey, that's our first win, but also, we're first in the East now, like things like that. Just the little things that, are huge in this game, because this game is such a, like we said earlier, what have you done for me lately? And all that matters is winning your division during the regular season and, obviously making the playoffs.
You used the word, you felt obnoxious. Can you kind of go into that?
Yeah, sometimes, as a role player or not a huge guy on the team, sometimes when you're like, hey guys, let's create turnovers, let's do these things, you just feel like it's so hard for you personally to be able to do that, but also you have to believe in yourself to do that. So, I say obnoxious, you're almost a cheerleader, especially with no fans, to the team. But also, you can be in situations to be able to do it. And so, obviously when your number's called, luckily I was in the perfect position for Mullins to throw me the ball. But, you do feel, almost kind of obnoxious, cheering on all the time and, preaching we got to score, we got to create turnovers. But luckily, I, got in that situation.
Alex, and then you get to kind of enjoy it in a weird way, which I can appreciate, on a long road trip. So you probably got to your phone, I don't even know, when you're as you're getting out of the locker room, walking to the airplane, to the bus, to the airport. I would imagine your phone got blown up beyond like anything you've ever experienced.
Yeah, because after games, usually, it's obviously, I call my family after every game, FaceTime them, and just, like we were saying earlier, if I just make a tackle, it's cool to call them and just be able to, live that moment with them, So, yeah, I got to my phone and had a little more than just a text from my mom, about
Yeah.
about a play. It was I didn't know Instagram worked the way it did with how the messages were coming in. I have a lot of friends from high school that I didn't know. I had their number still that was popping up. It was definitely interesting. I still haven't gone through all the texts and everything. And to anyone, and to everyone listening that's messaged me, thank you, for the shout outs, retweets, likes, favorites, whatever all the different platforms do. It's it means a lot to me, and I will never be able to say thank you to everybody because it is really cool. And I don't know how people that do that every week that I don't know how they survive because their phones must just die all the time.
Hey, did you sleep on the flight back, or were you too high to sleep after the game?
Oh, I still really haven't slept. I slept last night a little. I'm still kind of, I would say cloud 9, but not. It's more of a like surreal, more than less than cloud 9 because I don't feel like the high, but it's just kind of like the best living. I don't know how to explain it. I feel like I was in the position to do what I've always thought I could do, but also just the happiest I've been and just how my family is so happy, just an experience I think, I won't realize until I'm 50, 60, 70 years old and just kind of like when someone brings it up, I'm going to be like, wow, that's still something that happened in my life.
Your career, Alex, is a perfect example of a guy not giving up on a dream. So, A, why did you not give up on the dream? I mean, you've been around the league since 2015. And B, there had to be times when you were like, you didn't literally like have a paycheck. I mean, how did you make it? How exactly how instrumental were your parents and your family and your loved ones?
My family, I don't know. Without them, I think, 2015 was, a huge year because obviously, going to college, getting a scholarship was, incredible. I still remember when they dropped me off at the airport and, it didn't drop me off. They whatever you can do. Cause I was still 17 when I went to college. So they were allowed to, find a way to get in the airport. I remember them, sitting there with me, leaving for the first time by myself. And, from that moment to just, getting to play football in college, doing what I did in college, to having an opportunity to play in the NFL. And then it wasn't, that perfect experience of a first rounder. It wasn't pretty. I was cut and released, more times than, I can remember. And, I don't think I ever noticed it because I was 21 and just kind of enjoying the experience. But I know my mom, when it wore on her just driving back and forth in the airport because in LA, obviously everybody knows, traffic's horrible. And so I think she took me to the airport more times in 2015 than, obviously ever before. And just the wear and tear, it puts on a family to be able to, it just ends up being a lot. So what they were able to do for me, throughout my career and, get me to just being, obviously with the Calgary Stampeders for 3 years. And then now here, because I've been active for maybe almost a year now to this point. It's been a lot. And without them, I don't think I'd be able to do it.
Why did you not give up on the dream? A lot of people might have done that.
My family, they've never wanted me to, without, like I've said, without them, I just don't, in my head, I want to play football, and without, I don't know, football is just the thing that I have put every egg in the basket for. And, I feel like, it's just what I'm been working for my whole life, since I was like 3. So just, still doing it.
That's awesome. So your parents never said, "Hey, Alex, you're a really great player and we love you, but maybe this NFL thing isn't for you"?
They never said that. I think, they still let me live at home, in the off seasons while I'm in the NFL. So, I think they would support me through whatever I chose in life, and so without them, like I've said, they would let me do whatever I would want to do, and it's the biggest support in the world, and I think it's why I've been able to put all my eggs in one basket is because they're my backbone, they're my spine. They'll let me do whatever I want as long as I'm 100% in on it. Whether it's all in and you're making the paychecks in the NFL, or if you're standing on the outside just working out in the garage to hopefully be there one day.
Okay, so Alex, now you've got a game on Sunday. You've got responsibilities. I mean, you got to come down to earth, and it is a what have you done for me lately league. So, will it be difficult for you to, or will it be does this give you a surge of confidence? I mean, what's the next step for you?
Yeah, it's on to the Steelers. Honestly, it's time to go. We haven't had meetings yet. We got Monday and Tuesday off, but it's time to go. Exactly. I've done this long enough that I know that it's not a hey, you had a pick six. This game. It's week 4, and sadly, I understand that there's week 5. So it's time to go, and that's it. I'm gonna show up tomorrow for practice, and Wednesday I'm gonna be running scout cards. I'm gonna take whatever reps they give me on defense, and I'm gonna be period 1 on punt, and I'm gonna work as hard as I can to perfect what I do on this team. If one play defines your career, you're not a good or great player. So I want to be good or great on every single play that I play. So it's back to square one on Wednesday like it is every other week, and just time to get better.
And now let's talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. Big Ben Roethlisberger back in the lineup, and that has meant the world to the Steelers. A washout 2019 season. This Steelers team has Super Bowl aspirations. My guest this week, Bob Labriola, Steelers.com. So first, let's talk about the COVID-inspired bye week last week. Exactly the timeline and just how surreal was it, and what's your expectation for how this affects the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Well, it was bizarre from the beginning, but I mean that seems to me to be the normal. Bizarre is normal. All of a sudden in 2020, this is how it happened. I mean, we beat the Texans on Sunday, go 3-0, and then the week started, as it normally does. Monday was, review that game. Tuesday was the players' day off, game planning day for the coaches. Wednesday, everybody showed up as normal and started preparing for the Titans. But at that point, shortly, it was mid to late morning maybe, the reports started coming out about the positive tests, COVID tests, from the Titans based on their previous game, which had been in Minnesota against the Vikings. So, but as far as we knew, that we were told to just continue to prepare as normal. So that's what happened. And then what got bad about it was, unlike the situation with the New England Patriots, there continued to be positive tests within the Titans, both their team and their staff, their traveling party. And so as these numbers continued to grow each day, I think it was the first thing we heard was it's going to be Monday or Tuesday. The game was going to be pushed back to. But then Thursday, there were still more positive tests, and by Thursday, early afternoon, the determination was made to postpone the game until later in the season. Now, this is my opinion here, so just so everybody understands this. In my opinion, the Steelers got screwed despite not having done anything, because the way it had been was, our original bye was supposed to be between a game at the Ravens and a game at the Cowboys, which would have been November 1st. So what it is now is our bye was last week. The Ravens had their bye moved to November 1st. And then, the Ravens had their bye moved to October 25th. That's when we have to play the Titans. Then on November 1st, we go to Baltimore to play the Ravens. Then the week after that, we're at Dallas. And so what ended up happening is now, instead of getting a break between the Ravens trip and the Cowboys trip, the Ravens get a break before they play us, and we have to play at Tennessee, at Baltimore, and at Dallas all in a row. So, again, unfair, but I don't think anybody really cares. There's not going to be any tears shed, certainly, for the Steelers. And I understand, that the league is trying to do its best to get the schedule, off as close to the way it was originally released as possible. You want to have a 16-game season. I get it. You want to have full playoffs. You want to have a Super Bowl. Roger Goodell wants to stand on that podium at the end of that game with confetti falling on him and hand that trophy to somebody to make it a legitimate NFL season. But what I think is, and to me this is supported by the NFL's actions since then, the league is down in Nashville now. The league and the union is down in Nashville investigating why this happened. And so to me, they're looking at this as something other than just a sad happenstance. Right. And in my opinion, is that there should be punishment for teams, organizations, coaches like John Gruden who refused to wear the mask and continue to refuse to wear the mask on the sideline, and they should be significant punishments because I don't believe you're going to change behavior unless you make it sting. And I don't think a $100,000 fine really stings to these kind of people in this particular tax bracket. So we're going to see what happens moving forward, but that doesn't really have any impact on the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, I can't tell you that the Philadelphia Eagles feel that great either because the Steelers now have a bye week going into Sunday, but that's neither here nor there. Everybody recognizes Pittsburgh as a 3-0 team, Bob. How has it happened? What's been so good for the Steelers through 3 games?
Well, having Ben back the significance of that, I can't put it into words, in a short period of time. Everything is better because Ben is back. The defense is better because Ben is back because, last year, the last 6-8 games of the regular season, the Steelers never scored more than 2 touchdowns. And so as an opponent, you know that you can play conservative. You don't have to take chances. You know that if you score 17 points, you're probably going to win. With Roethlisberger back, opponents don't have that luxury anymore. He's not lighting it up in terms of the, Dak Prescott kind of numbers that you're seeing coming out of the NFC East. But, his rating is 105, I think it is, 7 touchdowns, 1 interception. And, in the last game, there was a 4th and 1 right around the 2-minute warning with the Steelers having a 5 or 6 point lead against the Texans. And, it was one of those RPO plays, run pass options. Ben goes to a pass, hits the rookie Chase Claypool with a quick pass. He breaks 1 tackle and runs it down to the Texans' 2-yard line. And then it's take a knee, and you're in the locker room with a win. Last year, you couldn't do that. And so, those are the kinds of things that the Steelers now have going for them that they didn't last year. And, leading up to this past weekend's game, the Steelers were leading the NFL in sacks. And, my understanding is that the Eagles have a little bit of problem at their offensive tackles. And so, I'm just here to tell you that T.J. Watt and Bud Dupree, the edge rushers, they're the real deal. And, the number of hits on the quarterback, regardless of the sacks, has been in the double digits virtually every week. And so, whoever the opposing quarterback is figures to take some punishment. And, they're also they've also been pretty good run defense. So, they haven't exactly opened against Murderers Row, beat the Giants, beat the Broncos, beat the Texans, but, 3-0 is 3-0.
Bob, do they still blitz as much as they have in the past?
They're pretty creative with it, and they do blitz. But the other thing that they've been able to do is with Watt and Dupree, and then Cam Hayward and Tyson Alualu, the former, he was like the 10th overall pick, the Jacksonville Jaguars, I think it was 2010, excuse me. He filled in a nose tackle, and he is doing a decent job, not only against the run, but in terms of pass rush efficiency from that position. He's among the league leaders among the defensive tackles. And so they have the ability. They also got Stephon Tuitt back from injury. So, they have the ability to rush 4 or 5, but they also will send corners, safeties. You never know.
And then offensively, it just amazes me that Pittsburgh always has a stud wide receiver. Like, always. And Juju Smith-Schuster is as good as any of them. Give me a little scouting report on his game.
Well, Juju was nagged by some injuries last year. Didn't really have as good a season as he did the previous ones. But again, I attribute some of that to not having Ben there. And so, Ben's back. Ben looks for him in a lot of situations. Juju is a big physical guy, kind of taller and heavier, but in terms of the way he plays the wide receiver position, he's kind of like Hines Ward. He'll muck it up in the middle. He's not afraid to go over the middle. He makes physical combat catches, those kind of things. And, I believe he's 24 years old going into his 5th NFL season, or 23 years old going into his 4th NFL season. His age in years really is remarkable for the amount of experience that he has in the NFL. Deontay Johnson is a second-year guy. He is someone who, in some of the good ways, is comparable to Antonio Brown in his ability to win matchups coming off the line of scrimmage. And Chase Claypool as a rookie, I never really believed that he would be able to contribute as he has to this point. His numbers aren't spectacular, but in the game against Denver, and I don't know if I've ever seen a stat line like this, he made 3 special teams tackles and caught an 84-yard touchdown pass.
Yeah, that doesn't happen often.
No. So, he's another one of those big, he's 6'3", 240, runs a sub 4.5. I don't want to hang anything on him, any nicknames or comparisons on him, but, Calvin Johnson kind of. But this is a guy, he's a gunner on punts. He covers kickoffs. And he has enough to run away from a defensive back, then drops one in the bucket, and he goes 84 yards for a touchdown with it. So they're unique physical specimens. And again, in terms of they've been able to work with Roethlisberger throughout whatever, well, I won't say the off season because it really wasn't that, but training camp and to this point in the regular season. And, that's starting to come around as well.
Bob, it sounds like you think that the Steelers are legit Super Bowl contenders. Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I just wish that there was some way that they could get into the NFC East.
Hey, stop that. Hey, ho, 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 hey.
Because, the Ravens are the Ravens, and, based on what Cleveland did last Sunday in Dallas, I'm starting to worry that the Browns aren't going to be a punchline anymore. I mean, that was something you could kind of count on since 1999. So, we'll have to see. But, I do believe that, things have to go well. You can't. The Steelers aren't really deep in a lot of areas. Their frontline talent is, I believe, good enough to contend. They've already sustained some injuries on the offensive line, but they've been able to absorb those so far. I don't know that they can really withstand any more there. And, on defense, you got to have Devin Bush stay healthy. Minka Fitzpatrick has to stay healthy. Cam Hayward has to stay healthy. And if they do, those are the kinds of players, they're good enough, they're experienced enough. I think that, put it all together and, playing the Pittsburgh Steelers throughout this regular season won't be too much fun for anybody.
Great stuff there from Bob. Thanks to Alex Singleton and, of course, head coach Doug Pederson and all of you for joining the podcast. Thanks to Peter Kelly, Trevor Hayes, and Ray Doyle for all their work here. Great stuff. We are looking forward to Sunday. But before that, we have our tailgate edition of the Eagles Insider Podcast on Friday. Make sure you take a listen. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro. Thanks for joining, everyone. If you have a moment to give us a review, please do so. There's a link in the details section of your podcast description. And in the meantime, we're still in first place, guys. Bigger and better things to come in this 2020 regular season. I'm Insider Dave Spadaro. It's the Eagles Insider Podcast presented by Lincoln Financial Group. Thanks for joining, everyone. Have yourselves a great Eagles day, and fly, Eagles, fly.
E-A-G-L-E-S, Eagles!
We want you to know about all the podcasts in the Eagles network of podcasts. So make sure you tune in to not only this Eagles Insider Podcast 3 times a week, but make sure you subscribe and listen to the Eagle Eye in the Sky podcast every Tuesday and Thursday, our Journey to the Draft podcast Tuesday and Thursday, and our Eagles Update podcasts, which give you the news in a flash, Monday through Saturday throughout this 2020 season. Sign up, subscribe, and listen to our Eagles network of podcasts.